All right, so I'm going to deepen the conversation that I've been having with you about awareness and feeling and perception. And I'm going to talk about how allowing yourself to feel will actually help you see or reveal to yourself hidden identities that are not in alignment with God consciousness. So we avoid feeling. We are terrified of feeling grief, shame, guilt, emptiness, nothingness. We are terrified of feeling these things because the experience of an emotion is very strong for many of us. And as children, we register that feeling of rejection or whatever the feeling is something that we never want to feel again, because at our young age, like, that's the worst thing we've ever experienced is a feeling. And so we spend a lot of time and energy, and we create a lot of strategies to avoid feeling. And I want to say, I am not of the opinion that feelings are lodged or stuck in our bodies. I know that body work and opening the body can help you release certain energy, but it's not because the feeling is stuck in your body. It's because when you open the body, you create a feeling of relief and openness that actually lets the energy move. But what really creates a backlog of feeling is an identity that you haven't seen. So on the one hand, right, we avoid feeling like the plague because we equate emotional energy with danger. But if you let yourself first take the step, there might be many steps for you. You might have a lot of strategies to avoid your feelings. You might have a lot of masking emotions, right? So a lot of times, to cover up the feeling of nothingness, worthlessness, there might be rage or panic or turbulence, right? There might be something above really the deeper feeling, the bottom of the emotions is where you want to get to. And I would say be really excited when you get to one of those bottom emotions, like nothingness, worthlessness, like self-disgust, all of that, because that means you're almost like, people have said there's no bottom to the psyche. I disagree, because my experience is that, like, when you get to the identities that prevent you from realizing your God consciousness in this moment, like, they dissolve, and you don't slip back into old patterns because you saw the identity that was maintaining the old pattern. So once you see the identity that was maintaining the old pattern and you see it for what it is and you kind of dissolve it, like, there's nothing that will bring you back. There's nothing, and I'm not saying that you'll never be, like, taken out of the present moment by an energy, and I'm not saying that, but in very large part, like, the parts of you that identify as being worthless or powerless, when you kind of challenge them and say, not even challenge them, right? But if you have a situation in your life, like, let's say you have lots of debt, and every time you open a bill, you feel like the sinking feeling in your gut. So what you want to be concerned with is not how to feel abundant so much as what part of me feels incapable of handling this? What part of me feels like this situation is bigger than me? What situation feels like that I have no way out? What part of me, I want to understand that I have an identity that equates this situation with a catastrophe. It's catastrophizing the situation and assuming and perceiving that it is an enormous catastrophe that it has no ability to move through. So it freezes, it shuts down, etc. So what you want to heal is that identity, and you want to realize, like, wow, I'm actually infinite intelligence, and I have the resources and the creativity and the energy and the capability to move through any situation. And so you know that a situation is on its way out when you truly feel okay that it's happening. Because, and instead of trying to pretend like you're okay with something that you're not okay with, acknowledge that you're not okay with it and inquire into the part of you that perceives itself to be separate from life and to be separate from solutions and separate from creative energy and separate from empowerment and separate from being infinite. And you want to re-educate that part, and it's easier to do that instead of trying to talk that part into a new state of energy. You want to get to a point where you can easily access the vibration of source in its purest sense, the void, right? Before anything has manifested, you want to get familiar with the feeling of infinite potential so that you can kind of remind that part, like, no, remember that, like, we've been there, like, we've seen that, like, you can't unsee, you can't unfeel, you can't unknow the feeling of infinite potential. And so you just want to bring that forward into your experience more. I am creator. So you want to let yourself feel, because the feeling is the bridge to the part of you that perceives itself to be separate from life. So we avoid our feelings like the plague, one, because the feeling feels unbearable to our victim mentality, but an empowered mentality would say it's just energy. It's just energy. Like, it's just energy, no matter if it makes my heart race, no matter if it makes me sweat, if it makes my vision blurry, if it makes it hard to breathe, it's just energy. And I'm eternal. I've lived this long. I've experienced this much. I can experience an energy. And when you calm your mind down and say, it's just energy, like, it opens itself up to be able to receive the experience of having an emotion consciously. But so we avoid our feelings, not only because the actual feeling and the actual emotion is intense, but because our survival mind is trying to distract us from seeing the identities that are in survival. So this is like the layers, right? So you want to know first, and I'll publish a video maybe later today. I've been publishing more than one a day. I'm creating a lot, and I'm probably going to take a break for a while. So I'm putting a lot out there. But there's the way you avoid, right? Which primarily is projection and overthinking. And then anything that you do behavior-wise, binging, drugs, alcohol, scrolling through Instagram. And I mentioned all these masking emotions like turbulence, a fog, confusion, spinning, panic. All those fast-moving energies, think of them like an interference pattern trying to distract you from getting what's underneath it, okay? Once you see that, right, once you ask yourself, like, what am I avoiding? What am I avoiding feeling? Then underneath that is, what am I avoiding knowing? What am I avoiding? So if I'm avoiding feeling shame, what I'm really avoiding is allowing myself to see a part of my survival mind that feels completely unworthy of being alive, that feels disgusting, that feels like it has no value, right? And of course it does. That's how the separate self, we're one in consciousness, we're one in our divinity, and we're one in our humanity, right? These are things that are interwoven in the fabric of our consciousness. So just look at it and be like, well, okay, I'm avoiding feeling like I'm nothing. I'm avoiding feeling like I'm completely worthless. I'm avoiding feeling, a big one, that I am completely at the mercy of my environment. I'm avoiding acknowledging that part of me feels completely powerless and completely at the mercy of my environment. I have no ability to create my own energy. And this is typical if you grew up in a household where there is lots of chaos, right? And you're a sensitive little thing, like a little egg, and you crack. And so, of course you cracked. Okay, I cracked. And all of that energy, right? All of the chaos, all of the that programmed you, right? Because you were little and because you couldn't leave anywhere, you believed, you had a belief about yourself like, I have no ability to create my own energy, to create my own environment. And if we're learning how to create our realities, you got to learn how to be in your own energy. You can't be at the mercy of all of the environmental energies. And I acknowledge as well, and I'll talk about this in another video, how to tell when you're feeling things that are not yours. Like, I'm really big on discernment and teaching people how to feel what they're feeling and how to like kind of identify it. And I'll give you a clue really quick. If all of a sudden you feel something, whether it's a body pain, like I don't even want to put that in the universe anymore. I used to feel people's body pains, like the way that I would medically intuit like what was going on with them was I would feel it in my own body. And so I inquired about that. I was like, what's the faulty thought that I have that I'm experiencing it in my own body instead of like seeing it like an x-ray, like separate from me with more distance and more comfort? And it was basically a train of thought of like, if I'm not hypervigilant, if I'm not completely aware of every detail in my reality, I'll never be safe. Because if I'm not completely hypervigilant and aware of every detail in my reality, I won't know where to hide, where to go. And also a deeper belief, like I have no ability to create energy. I have no ability to create my own environment. Whew, that was a big one for me to see, because I could, when there was no challenges going on in my life, yeah, it was really easy. I would focus. Actually, I was in bliss kind of automatically with the spiritual awakening. But when challenges came up and I actually had to look at all these parts being triggered and challenged, like I had to take a deeper look. And what I saw was really, for me, a big theme was I believe that I have no ability to create my reality. I have no ability to create my reality. Wouldn't that be a good thought? Wouldn't that be a good thought to become aware of, right? There are people who go to every workshop, read every book, do everything that they can possibly, go through all the motions. But if they have a thought that that's strong, it's almost a construct, there will be so much conflict in their life. And it would be so physically uncomfortable and so frustrating. And, people say, well, everything is a spiral and we go back and then we go forward. And it's like, well, that's not necessarily true, because what's keeping you coming back is that you haven't seen something yet. And it's okay that you're still in the spiral and maybe you haven't seen something yet, but I'm giving you a shortcut, because I believe in efficiency and I believe that we shouldn't heal forever. I believe that we should understand how the mind works, heal ourselves, study ourselves, become aware of ourselves, and then move on with our life and share and create. Okay? So I'll publish a video later today. How to know when you're avoiding. How to know when you're avoiding, step 1. You want to know that because when you stop avoiding, then you can feel. Oh, when you can feel, you can release a lot of energy. And when you release a lot of energy, your mind will be relaxed enough and undistorted enough so that you can see like a part of you that doesn't know that it's God, a part of you that has a mistaken belief of what it is for whatever reason. And so when you get to that part, like, oh, part of me has the belief that I have no ability to create my reality. Wow, that's a gold mine. That's a diamond, because this is the thought that was keeping me separate from realizing a lot of wanted details of my life. So understand how this works, okay? We are escape artists to the most insane degree. We are escape artists. Just acknowledge that about yourself and start noticing all the ways that you escape, all the ways that you escape feeling, all the ways that you escape making decisions. And the reason why we're afraid of making decisions is because actually what we're avoiding feeling is that we're alone in the world, okay? So we feel alone in this world, separate from God. So we believe that when we make a decision, it's like this big thing that like we might make a big mistake. When the reality is that all the decisions that you feel inspired to make or that are in your heart to make are in the heart of God, that are speaking through you, so you can feel safe with that. But so you understand how I avoid. Okay, what's the feeling? And the truth is that there's not really a backlog of feeling so much as there's an identity or a part that has been creating your reality that you haven't seen yet. So this is a shortcut. I hope this has inspired some kind of awareness within you, and I hope you have a beautiful day.